Welcome to my channel USA's Dark Secrets. If you are here for raw, real stories of betrayal and hard choices. The day started like any other, a crisp breeze weaving through the curtains, sunlight painting streaks across the wooden floor. Michael sat at the kitchen table, savoring his morning coffee, oblivious to the storm brewing just beyond his sight. His wife, Emily, hummed softly, her hands busy preparing breakfast, a picture of domestic bliss. But beneath the surface, secrets festered, and lies coiled tightly, ready to spring. Michael had always trusted Emily implicitly. Their love story was the kind people envied, a whirlwind romance that turned into a decade-long marriage. They shared dreams, built a home, and promised each other eternity. But as the days turned into years, small cracks began to appear in the foundation of their relationship. Late nights, unexplained absences, and whispered phone calls. Emily had excuses for everything, and Michael wanted desperately to believe them. The turning point came one chilly evening when Michael's work ran late, and he returned home unexpectedly. He found Emily on the phone, her voice hushed, her tone unfamiliar. It wasn't the sweet, warm cadence he knew. It was charged, almost flirtatious. When she saw him, her smile faltered, and she quickly ended the call. Her explanation? A work friend discussing a project. Michael nodded, swallowing his doubt. But a seed of suspicion had been planted. Days turned into weeks, and Michael couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He noticed the little things, the way Emily guarded her phone, the sudden change in her wardrobe, the mysterious text that made her smile before she quickly turned the screen away. Each moment chipped away at the trust he held so dearly. Driven by a need for answers, Michael made a decision that would change everything. One evening, while Emily was in the shower, he unlocked her phone. His hands trembled as he scrolled through her messages, his heart pounding like a drum. And there it was, the undeniable proof. Messages filled with intimate words, plans for secret rendezvous, and names he didn't recognize. The betrayal hit him like a freight train, but the most devastating discovery was yet to come. Michael realized that Emily wasn't involved with just one man. There were several. Each exchange painted a picture of a woman he no longer recognized, a stranger who had taken the place of his wife. Rage, heartbreak, and a burning desire for justice consumed him. Instead of confronting her immediately, Michael decided to play the long game. He would gather evidence, unravel the web of lies, and expose Emily for who she truly was. With meticulous precision, he began documenting everything. Screenshots of messages, call logs, and even tracking her whereabouts when she claimed to be working late. One fateful night, Michael followed Emily to a hotel, his heart pounding with every step. From the shadows, he watched as she met a man in the lobby, their embrace confirming his worst fears. He snapped photos, his hands steady despite the turmoil within. This was no longer about saving their marriage. It was about reclaiming his dignity and exposing the truth. The story takes a dramatic turn when Michael devises a plan to confront Emily in a way she would never forget. On their anniversary, he organizes a dinner party, inviting close friends and family. Emily, oblivious to his knowledge, is radiant, playing the role of the devoted wife. But as the evening progresses, Michael stands to make a toast, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. And he begins with a heartfelt recounting of their love story, drawing smiles and tears from the guests. But then his tone shifts. He reveals the betrayal, laying bare the evidence for all to see. The room falls silent, the weight of his words suffocating. Emily's face pales as her lies unravel before her. Let me know if you'd like me to continue or refine any part of this segment. The guests at the dinner party froze in stunned silence, their eyes darting between Michael and Emily, trying to process the bombshell that had just been dropped. Michael held up his phone, scrolling through a series of incriminating messages and photos. "This," he said, his voice now laced with steel, "is the truth I've been living with. Emily, the woman I trusted with my life, has been lying to me, to all of us. Emily's face turned ghostly white, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came out. Her confident facade had shattered, leaving behind a vulnerable, cornered version of herself. She looked around the room, her eyes pleading for sympathy, but all she found were shocked stares and whispers of disbelief. Michael continued, pacing the room now, his movements deliberate. "I've spent weeks uncovering this," he said. "Every late-night text, every excuse, every deceitful smile. And let me tell you, it was worse than I ever imagined." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in before he turned to Emily. "Tell them, Emily. Tell them how you've been juggling not one, but several affairs. Tell them how you've turned our marriage into a mockery." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, but Michael's resolve remained unshaken. He had given her every chance to come clean, to explain herself, but she had chosen deceit at every turn. Now he was determined to ensure she faced the consequences of her actions point one by one. The guests began murmuring, their initial shock giving way to anger and betrayal. These were people who had celebrated their love, who had believed in the fairy tale of Michael and Emily's marriage. To learn that it had all been a lie was a bitter pill to swallow. Emily finally found her voice, her words trembling as she spoke. "Michael, please. Let's talk about this in private." "This isn't the place." Michael laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "In private? That's all you've ever wanted, isn't it? To keep your dirty little secrets hidden? Well, not anymore. You made your choices, Emily, and now the truth is out." He turned to the crowd, his voice steady despite the emotions coursing through him. "I'm not sharing this to humiliate her," he said. "I'm sharing this because I refuse to be the only one bearing the weight of her lies. I've lived in the shadows of her betrayal long enough." The guests' reactions ranged from sympathy to outrage. Some shook their heads in disgust, while others looked at Emily with pity. The room buzzed with whispered conversations, each guest trying to reconcile the woman they thought they knew with the revelations before them. But Michael wasn't done. He turned to Emily once more, his expression unreadable. "You might think this is the worst of it," he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. "But there's more." Emily's breath hitched, her hands trembling as she clutched the back of a chair for support. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out a small USB drive. "I've been collecting evidence," he said. "Not just the messages and photos. Financial records, phone logs, even video footage. I have everything, and if you think this ends here, you're sorely mistaken." The room erupted into chaos, voices overlapping as guests tried to comprehend the magnitude of what Michael was saying. Emily looked like she might collapse, her legs wobbling as she sank into the nearest chair. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice breaking to Michael's eyes burned with unshed tears, but he refused to let them fall. "Why?" he repeated. "Because I loved you, Emily. I gave you everything, and you threw it all away. This isn't just about me. It's about the lies you told everyone in this room. It's about the trust you shattered. And it's about ensuring you can't hurt anyone else the way you've hurt me." For the next hour, Michael detailed the depths of Emily's betrayal, sparing no detail. He described how he had followed her to secret meetings, how he had confronted some of the men involved, and how each of them had unwittingly confirmed his worst fears. He spoke of the sleepless nights, the gnawing doubt, and the heartbreak that had consumed him. By the time he finished, the room was heavy with tension. Emily sat silently, her face streaked with tears, while the guests looked on, their expressions a mix of sympathy and outrage. Michael took a deep breath, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his revelations. "I didn't want it to come to this," he said finally. "But you left me no choice. This is your mess, Emily. Now you have to live with it." With that, he turned and walked out of the room, leaving Emily to face the consequences of her actions. The sound of the door closing behind him was like a final punctuation mark on a story that had taken years to unfold. But for Michael, it was the beginning of a new chapter. one where he would rebuild his life from the ashes of his shattered trust.